Brandon Corbin from Menard County. Menard County is also a disadvantaged community. We have 1,962 souls that live in Menard County, and we're in the bottom 10 in the state in valuation. So we have a tax rate that's too high that doesn't generate enough money. So nice combination of that. But in respect for this committee and the job ahead of you today, I'm going to move very quickly through my outline. I did want to thank Senator Perry and your office for reaching out to me personally, and to Representative Verdell for calling me personally during all this to make sure we had everything that we need and that we were doing all right in Menard County. This has been said previously, but I think it's very important that on July 3rd, our section chief called all of us and said, this is different, pay attention. To Judge Foley's point, we get a lot of what I call alert fatigue. We are constantly getting emails and texts and we might get a flash flood. We might get, and it's just so much that you sometimes lose the narrative and you can miss things like this. And Section Chief Sean Baxter's name needs to be recognized for the work he did on July 3rd to make sure that we didn't miss this and got the word out. In the afternoon of July 3rd, I put a Facebook post out. That's the most effective way for me to communicate with my community. We do also have Code Red, which is another one of these reverse 911 systems that came into play later. But we did that, and we called at-risk citizens. We let our RV park know. We let our Baptist camp know, hey, we're worried about this. Please be vigilant. The next morning on the 4th, it started a little later for us. Our first call out for swift water rescue wasn't until 7 a.m. It was in the southeast part of our county, and that one was like most of the ones that we responded to that day. A volunteer fire department crew dispatched, and they were stopped before they could get anywhere close to these people by floodwaters crossing FM roads and county roads. I wrote down a quote from one of them. I asked, hey, do we need swift water boats? What do we need? And they said, well, if we had a boat, we could have gone 20 yards across this draw, but then we would still been 5 miles away from the people that we needed to try to help. All in all, we had 11 citizens go into the water that day and into life-threatening peril. That included 4 cars swept off roads and 6 citizens leaving their homes to try to get to safety on foot, or in one case in a canoe. And by the grace of God, they all survived. We didn't have any fatalities or major injuries. Several of those, like I said, we just could not physically get to them. We have a constable that has a helicopter, and in several cases they tried to drop life vests to people. There's a draw in the city of Menard. There's a draw called Harris Hollow. I'm sure most of you have driven through it. There's a big bridge on the south side. That draw is usually empty. It swelled to the size of 4 city blocks. So all of the south side of Menard basically became part of Harris Hollow that runs to the river there. It wasn't like my peers to where the river came up in this case. It was coming down straight on top of us. So we had over 8 inches in about 2.5 hours. So that alluvial flooding really is what did us in the city, damaged most of the streets in the city, and most of the towns on that half of our community got between 2 and 6 inches of water into them. The San Saba River crusted that day at 17 feet. Normal is 3 feet. But again, 18 feet is flood stage, and that's when it spills out into town and creates a much bigger problem. So we were blessed that it stopped just short of that. We actually got messaging that afternoon that they expected the river to go up even more to 20 feet. And at that point, we made the decision to evacuate our Baptist camp. It's in an odd little spot that's higher than the Morales Creek that runs behind it and the river, so they were safe at that point. But if it had come up 3 more feet, it would have been dangerous for them. So we got 104 campers out driving 5-ton fire trucks and a Menard ISD school bus to get them through the flooded roadways and to safety. We established a community shelter operated by our CERT team, Citizen Emergency Response Team, that's less than 6 months old. Thank God we got that organized when we did. And that afternoon, the water receded. So fast forward again, I'm trying to just hit the highlights for you. On July 6th, the following Monday, we had a secondary event as we're starting to organize resources and try to get people aid that came down enough to flood our community a second time. In that case, it came in under the courthouse into the basement, took out the elevator, damaged antique wood structures and everything in the doors. and added a whole new layer to this. I'm not going to talk much about roads, but virtually every road in Menard County has major damage, and we've had great mutual aid from TxDOT. They've sent crews out to help us blade those roads. We can't fully repair them yet, but we can make it to where emergency responders are able to get to our citizens if something did come up. By July 7th, we started to get regional support. You've heard the Concho Valley Council of Governments. They were huge in all this. The Concho Valley Community Action Agency was also huge in getting aid to my citizens. And one of the things that I hope all you take away from this, I think regionalism is a major player in this. A tailored approach and maybe shared resources as you look for answers for the future. Some volunteer organizations such as Beautification of Menard, Menard Mission Team, and county staff began going door to door to fill out these iStats. I'm proud to say that with a community of less than 2,000 people, we have gotten 303 iStats complete. So we've really gained the trust of our community to input that data. We're traditionally fearful of outsiders. The unofficial town slogan is "Keep Menard Hostile." So we were kind of doing an uphill battle to get people to input that data, but we were able to accomplish it. As far as asks, the flood gauge is just as needed on the San Saba River. So I'm at the headwaters, and then it hits Judge Trull and Judge Foley. LCRA is an excellent resource. I have to toggle between that and a USGS gauge in Fort McCavitt, which is on my western border, to see the trend. So I'm bouncing back and forth. I think it'd be great if we could consolidate that data and give us a easy-to-use application or something that pulls that information together for decision makers to look at in real time. As simple as additional gauges, I wrote down some specific ones. If you look at those flood maps, Rocky Creek, Los Morris, Elm Creek, and then the floodplain of the headwaters of the San Saba is mostly in Schleicher County. There's about 30 square miles out there, so some of those are usually dry draws, but if it had an alert, that would be very helpful and ensure that we help people get out of the way when these things come down. I think we benefit from new floodplain mapping as well. It's been decades since we had accurate floodplain maps. There's been talk of a project, and it's kind of started and stopped. And one other quick thing, ISTAT has excellent methodology to gather all that information. I discovered this week there's a button basically, or a checkbox that says I need help or I need resources, and that doesn't go anywhere right now. So if there was a way to that could send me a red flag or something that we could then allocate resources and make sure those people get the help they ask for, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I think there's a few questions. Yep.